May 12th, 1971. A jury in New York returns from deliberation after just 90 minutes. They have been deliberating on a case that lasted 8 months. 156 criminal charges. Conspiracy to murder police officers. Conspiracy to bomb department stores, police stations, subway lines, even the New York Botanical Garden. The defendants are 21 members of the Black Panther Party, including a 24-year-old woman who is 8 months pregnant. She represented herself. No law degree, no formal legal training, just law books she studied while locked up in the Women's House of Detention. And when the foreman reads the verdict, it is the same word 156 times in a row. Not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. 1 month later, that woman gives birth to a son. His name is Tupac Shakur. And the paranoia she taught him, the distrust of the government, the revolutionary consciousness that would define his entire career did not come from the streets. It came from watching the FBI try to destroy his mother before he was even born. This is the story of Afeni Shakur, the woman everyone knows as Tupac's mom, but almost nobody knows as one of the most remarkable legal victories against government conspiracy in American history. April 2nd, 1969, 5 o'clock in the morning, Detective Francis Dalton and 4 other NYPD officers arrive at Apartment 9, 112 West 117th Street in Harlem. They are carrying bulletproof vests and a shotgun. They light a rag on fire in the hallway and start screaming. Need women to know that 12 West 117th Street in Harlem. They are carrying bulletproof vests and a shotgun. They light a rag on fire in the hallway and start screaming, "Fire, fire." Inside the apartment, 22-year-old Afeni Shakur and her husband Lumumba wake up to smoke and chaos. Lumumba looks through the peephole, sees flames, and opens the door. A shotgun is immediately pressed into his chest. Officers come through the fire escape window, guns pointed at Afeni. Across the city, the same thing is happening at 19 other addresses. Coordinated raids. The entire leadership of the Harlem Black Panther Party was arrested simultaneously. The charge was conspiracy to wage a coordinated bombing campaign across New York City. The prosecutor called it domestic terrorism. Each of them was held on $100,000 bail. That is over $800,000 in today's money. For 21 people, that is $2.1 million total. The message was clear. They were not getting out. The woman they arrested that morning wasn't born Afeni Shakur. She was born Alice Faye Williams on January 10, 1947, in Lumberton, North Carolina. Her father beat her mother until her mother finally left, moving Alice and her older sister to the South Bronx when Alice was 11 years old. She learned early that the world was violent, that authority figures couldn't be trusted, that survival meant fighting back. In 1968, she heard Bobby Seale speak at the corner of 125th Street and 7th Avenue in Harlem. She joined the Black Panther Party that same week. She met Lumumba Shakur, married him in November of '68, and took his last name. Afeni meant lover of people in Yoruba. She became a section leader of the Harlem chapter. She wrote articles for the Panther newsletter. She volunteered at hospitals, taught classes, organized breakfast programs for kids in the neighborhood. And she started noticing something about one of the Panthers in their chapter, a guy who went by the name Yedwa Sudan. He was too aggressive, too eager to push everyone toward violence, too quick to suggest bombing campaigns and killing cops. Afeni told Lumumba something was wrong with this guy. Lumumba didn't listen. He thought Yedwa's aggression proved he was committed. But Afeni's instincts were right. Yedwa Sudan was actually Detective Ralph White. He was an undercover NYPD officer sent to infiltrate and destroy the Black Panther Party from the inside. The case was called the People of the State of New York versus Lumumba Abdul Shakur and others, but everyone called it the Panther 21 trial. It was the longest criminal trial in New York history at that time. The prosecution's entire case rested on testimony from undercover police agents like Ralph White, agents who had spent 2 years infiltrating the Panthers, recording conversations, and filing reports on everything, from political meetings to who walked down what street on what day. The problem was, they did not have any actual evidence. No bombs, no weapons caches, no detailed plans. Just a lot of militant rhetoric and the word of cops who had been pretending to be revolutionaries. The trial was supposed to start in October of 1970, but there was a problem. Most of the defendants could not afford lawyers. The few attorneys they had were overwhelmed, and in January of 1970, most of the legal team quit. The case was falling apart before it even started. Afeni Shakur was out on bail by this point. She had been released in the fall of 1970 because the Panthers had scraped together enough money to bail out her and one other defendant, 19-year-old Jamal Joseph. The plan was they would work on raising money for the other 19, but her bail came with conditions. She could not leave New York. She had to check in regularly, and she was facing the very real possibility of 300 years in prison if convicted. And then she got pregnant. The father was Billy Garland, another Panther, not her husband, Lumumba. The marriage was already fracturing under the pressure of the trial, the surveillance, and the paranoia that comes with knowing the government is trying to destroy you. When her lawyers quit, Afeni made a decision that shocked everyone. She would represent herself. Her co-defendants opposed it. They thought she would destroy the case. The judge warned her she was making a terrible mistake. The prosecutors probably thought they had just been handed an easy win. A pregnant woman with no legal training going up against the full resources of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. But Afeni had spent months in jail studying criminal law. She understood procedure, she understood evidence, and most importantly, she knew exactly who these undercover agents were and what they had really been doing in the Panther Party. The trial officially began on October 19, 1970. Judge John Murtaugh declared early on that this was not a political trial. It was a criminal matter. But everything about the case was political. The prosecutors showed the jury films of black revolutionaries. They quoted Mao's Little Red Book. They called the Panthers a terrorist organization. By the time the actual testimony started, the case had been narrowed down to 13 defendants and 156 counts of conspiracy. For months, the prosecution paraded witnesses. Most of them were the undercover officers who had infiltrated the Panthers, and one by one, Afeni Shakur destroyed them. The first undercover officer to testify was Eugene Roberts. He was supposed to be the star witness, but when Afeni cross-examined him, his testimony...
I think Eugene Roberts, that's his name. Eugene Roberts was also infiltrating Malcolm X too, y'all. That's a fact. Let me see something. Let me go find that real quick. Hold on. Wow. Eugene Roberts. This Eugene Roberts, ladies and gentlemen, who infiltrated Malcolm X. And not only that, we just heard him infiltrate the Black Panther Party, y'all. Wow. Niggas.
I got a little crazy on the subject of black people. They had Elijah Muhammad under surveillance for at least 25 years.
25 years.
Under surveillance for most of his
Malcolm
public
X,
life.
under surveillance,
When I say surveillance, I'm talking about
life.
wiretaps, I'm talking about room bugs, I'm talking about infiltrators.
You were an undercover agent for the police. He didn't know that.
No, he didn't.
And you got in close, very close. He trusted you.
I would say yes, sir.
Gene Roberts got so close that he became Malcolm X's bodyguard, even though he was really an undercover cop in the New York City Police Department. Your job was to gather intelligence, to gather information.
Yes.
And the Bureau's mission was to keep tabs on potentially violent people?
Yes.
Why was Malcolm X considered a potentially
This
violent,
dude
if not
infiltrated
in
the
fact, violent
Panthers.
person?
Well, I
Malcolm
guess
X. That's why I said, man, these niggas amongst us got to go, man. Facts.
Society wasn't ready for him.
Niggas in the way, man.
He was saying a lot of things that society didn't want to hear at that point in time. The week before he was killed, there was a meeting at the Audubon. And I saw what I thought, and I still think, was a dress rehearsal for Malcolm's impending assassination. I called the department the following morning, and I told them that I felt that this was a, as I put it, a dry run.
Yeah.
And they told me that, okay, we'll pass it on and we'd take care of it. What they did with it, I really don't know.
I did not have a gun, but I tell you, I wished I had a gun. Because when I walked into the Audubon Barroom and seen nobody on the door, seen no one there, I became very upset. And I went as I walked to the back of the room, I asked, I said, what is this? And they said, this is his request. He told us not to put nobody on the door. I said, don't give me that.
That's
don't
bullshit.
give me that. I said, somebody in here is playing games.
And a commotion started. Two individuals near the front got up and one of them hollered, get your hands out my pocket.
Malcolm said, all right. And all of a sudden, that's when the bullets start ringing.
I saw three individuals from the front get up and just started firing at him. They came running down the middle aisle toward the exit. I turned and went back, and two of them passed me. And I met the third individual, and just as he turned to fire at me, I turned sideways and hit him with a chair, and I knocked him down. I saw him scramble up, run out the door. I chased him out the door, at which time, when I got out, there was a crowd of people outside. They had him, and they were beating him. I turned around and went back in, and as I got to the stage, he was still laying there, and everybody was standing around. So at that time, I started giving him mouth-to-mouth. And
fake
he
mouth
died
to
right
mouth,
there
y'all.
on stage.
Fake mouth to mouth, y'all.
And one by one, Afeni Shakur destroyed them. The first undercover officer to testify was Eugene Roberts. He was supposed to be the star witness,
all over the place,
but when
right?
Afeni cross-examined him, his testimony fell apart.
Panthers,
He could not
Malcolm
point
X,
to any specific violent acts. He could not provide details.
Trying to get Elijah
Everything
Muhammad.
was vague implications and revolutionary talk with no actual crimes attached. Then came the second officer, Carlos Ashwood. Afeni was 8 months pregnant by this point. She stood up in her white maternity smock and started asking him direct questions. Did you ever see me kill anyone? No. Did you ever see me blow up anything? No. Did you ever see me with a bomb? No. What did you see me doing? Teaching, volunteering at hospitals, organizing breakfast programs. The prosecutors were losing, and everyone in the courtroom could feel it. But the moment that broke the case wide open came when Afeni cross-examined Ralph White, the man she had known as Yedwa Sudan, the man she had warned Lumumba about for months before the arrests. White had been one of the most active Panthers in the Harlem chapter. He had helped clean and paint the office when it first opened in 1968. He had been at every meeting. He had pushed harder than anyone for violent action. Now he was on the witness stand, revealed as an NYPD detective. And Afeni had been waiting 2 years for this. She asked him about the activities he had witnessed. He admitted he had organized most of the chapter's unlawful activities. She asked him about the Panthers' community programs. He said some of them were very beautiful. She asked if he had ever seen her carry a gun. No. If he had ever seen her kill anyone. No. If he had ever seen her bomb anything. No. Then she asked him if he had misrepresented the Panthers to his police bosses. He said yes. She asked if he had betrayed the black community. He said yes. The courtroom was silent. One of the prosecution's key witnesses had just admitted on the stand that he had been an agent provocateur, that he had pushed the Panthers toward violence, that he had created the very conspiracy the defendants were now being tried for. The prosecution's case collapsed in real time. By April of 1971, everyone knew how this was going to end. The final witness, Officer Carlos Ashwood, had been just as useless to the prosecution as the others. The prosecutors were making emotional outbursts, grasping for anything that could save their case. On May 12th, Judge Murtaugh gave his final instructions to the jury. He told them the flight of 2 defendants who had fled to Algeria could be considered evidence of guilt, but the jury did not need much time to think about it. 90 minutes later, they came back. The foreman stood up and started reading, "Not guilty, not guilty, not guilty," 156 times. When the verdict was announced, the courtroom erupted. The defendants who had fled were acquitted in absentia. The 13 who were present embraced each other, crying, shouting. 2 years of their lives had been consumed by this trial. 2 years of detention, surveillance, psychological warfare. And they had won. Afeni Shakur walked out of that courtroom a free woman. She was 24 years old, 8 months pregnant, and she had just helped secure one of the most significant legal victories against government conspiracy in American history. 1 month and 4 days later, on June 16, 1971, she gave birth to a boy. She named him Lassane Parish Crooks. A year later, she renamed him Tupac Amaru Shakur, after an 18th century Peruvian revolutionary who led an indigenous uprising against Spanish colonial rule. But the victory in court did not mean the war was over. The surveillance did not stop. The FBI did not close their files. If anything, the acquittal made the government more determined to destroy what was left of the Black Panther Party. By the time Tupac was born, Afeni's marriage to Lumumba was over. He was not the biological father, and the strain of the trial had broken whatever was left between them. She married Mutulu Shakur in 1975, Lumumba's adopted brother, and had a daughter named Sekiwa. That marriage ended in 1982. Afeni tried to build a normal life. She worked as a paralegal with Bronx Legal Services for a decade. But the trauma of those years, the paranoia, the knowledge that the government had spent millions of dollars trying to destroy her, never went away. In the early 1980s, she started using crack cocaine. By 1984, she had moved Tupac and Sekiwa to Baltimore to try to escape her addiction. She eventually relocated to California. The addiction consumed her for years. In 1989, Tupac left home because of it. He was 18 years old, and he could not watch his mother destroy herself any longer. Reconciled. In 1991, Afeni got clean through Narcotics Anonymous. 9 months into her recovery, Tupac sent her $5,000, even though their relationship was still strained. By 1995, when he released Dear Mama, the song that would become his tribute to her, their bond was stronger than it had ever been. And even as a crack fiend, "Mama, you always was a black queen, Mama," he rapped. "I finally understand. For a woman, it ain't easy trying to raise a man." Tupac died on September 13, 1996. He was 25 years old, shot multiple times in a drive-by in Las Vegas. The case has never been solved.
By other black
Afeni
men.
spent the rest of her life managing his estate, releasing his unreleased music, and building his legacy. But she also worked to make sure people understood where that legacy came from. In 2004, she released her autobiography, Afeni Shakur, Evolution of a Revolutionary, written with actress Jasmine Guy. In it, she reflected on the trial, the Black Panther Party, her addiction, and her son. She traveled across the country giving lectures. She founded the Tupac Amaru Shakur Foundation to promote arts education and community programs. She tried to channel the same revolutionary energy that had driven her in 1968, but this time toward building something instead of fighting the system. She later reflected on the Panther years with a mix of pride and regret. She believed the party had failed because they had lost their moral center. "We turned against God," she said, "and how you gonna win like that? You have to have a moral imperative to win. We didn't understand that. We drew violence to ourselves. We drew bitterness to ourselves. But when it came to the trial, she had no regrets. She had won against impossible odds with no training. While pregnant and facing life in prison, she had stood up to the full power of the state and walked away free." Afeni Shakur died on May 2nd, 2016, at the age of 69. She suffered a heart attack in a hospital in Green Bay, California. She had outlived her son by 20 years. Today, most people only know her as the woman Tupac rapped about in Dear Mama, the crack-addicted mother who struggled but loved her son. And that is part of her story. But it is not the whole story. Before she was Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur was the pregnant revolutionary who taught herself criminal law in a jail cell and then used it to expose government infiltration of the Black Panther Party. She was the woman who looked Detective Ralph White in the eye and made him admit on the stand that he had betrayed the Black community. She was the defendant who helped secure the acquittal of all 21 Panthers on all 156 charges, and the paranoia she passed down to Tupac, the belief that the government was always watching, always waiting to destroy you. That was not mental illness. That was lived experience. The FBI had tried to destroy her. They had spent millions of dollars, deployed undercover agents for years, coordinated raids across an entire city, held her on impossible bail, and put her on trial for her life. And she had beaten them. When Tupac talked about the system being designed to break Black people, he was not speaking theoretically. He was speaking from a childhood spent watching his mother fight that system and win, then watching it hunt her anyway. He inherited an FBI file before he could walk. He grew up knowing that his mother's victory in court had not meant freedom. It had just meant survival. In 2025, when we talk about surveillance states, infiltration of activist movements, conspiracy prosecutions designed to destroy political organizations, we are not talking about ancient history. We are talking about tactics that destroyed the Black Panther Party in the 60s and the 70s. These are the tactics Afeni Shakur spent her entire life fighting. The Black Lives Matter movement has faced the same playbook.
Bullshit.
Undercover agents, conspiracy charges, mass arrests of leadership. The only difference is now the surveillance is digital. The files are cloud-based, and the infiltrators use social media instead of pretending to clean Panther offices. Afeni Shakur's story matters because it is a reminder that fighting the system does not mean you are paranoid. Sometimes the system really is trying to destroy you. And sometimes, if you are smart enough and brave enough, and if you study hard enough while you are locked up and pregnant, you can beat them in their own courtroom. She proved it was possible. And then she raised a son who would spend his entire career trying to prove it again.
You know, another informant, William O'Neill, who gave the FBI the diagram of Fred Hampton's bedroom where he slept at. Another informant, another house nigga, another traitor to his race.
Police action. The Black Panthers had fortified their office. FBI informant O'Neill was now head of Panther security in Chicago.
And I remember walking out of the office and looking through a little clearing over on the next block, which was right in front of the Monroe Street address, and seeing a lot of police cars over there. And at that time, Bobby Rush came to the office. He had just come from over there, or maybe the coroner's office. In any case, we walked back over there, and we both were speechless. We just walked through the house and saw what had taken place and where he died, and it was shocking. And then I just began to realize that the information that I supplied leading up to that moment facilitated that raid. I knew that indirectly I had contributed, and I felt it, and I felt bad about it. And then I got mad. And then I had to conceal those feelings, which made it worse. I couldn't say anything. I just had to continue to play the role.
They gave this house nigga $300, y'all, for setting up Fred Hampton, man. That's crazy. $300.
Continue to play the role.
FBI headquarters authorized payment of a $300 bonus to informant William O'Neill for, quote, uniquely valuable services which he rendered over the past several months, unquote. Party leaders Mark Clark and Fred Hampton were killed in the raid. 4 of the 7 surviving occupants of the apartment were wounded. All were charged with assault and attempted murder.
I remember walking out of the office and looking through a little clearing over on the next block, which was right in front of the Monroe Street address, and seeing a lot of police cars over there. And at that time, Bobby Rush came to the office. He had just come from over there, or maybe the coroner's office. In any case, we walked back over there, and we both were speechless. We just walked through the house. And
speechless, nigga. You was a rat, nigga. You the one that gave up the blueprint to the motherfucking crib, nigga.
It was shocking.
Fuck wrong with you, nigga?
I just began to realize that the information that I supplied leading up to that moment,
right ass nigga,
had facilitated that raid. I knew that indirectly I had contributed, and I felt it, and I felt bad about it. And then I got mad, and then I had to conceal those feelings, which made it worse. I couldn't say anything. I just had to continue to play the role.
As a rat.
FBI headquarters authorized payment of a $300 bonus to informant William O'Neill for, quote, uniquely valuable services which he rendered over the past several months, unquote.
Fred Hampton life was only worth $300 to this house nigga, man. That's crazy, man. This is sickness in the African American community. These niggas is trained to hate each other, man. Fucking informants. There's informants out there now and this shit. I need to find them and get rid of them.
The slave theater. Well, why does Brother Alton Maddox leave the name slave on it? Because, goddammit, we're still in the land of our bondage. We're still in the land of captivity. We're still a slave to the Democratic Party. Still a slave to the Republican Party. You can't even see a Freedom Party. You don't see it. You're a slave. I'm a slave. And unless we admit that we are slaves, then we can never get free. Never get free. The first thing a slave must do is admit I'm in bondage. Admit I'm in captivity. Admit that I'm a slave and Giuliani is a slave master. Admit that I'm a slave and Clinton is a slave master. Admit that I'm a slave and Cuomo is a slave master. That's the only way you can get free. Stop walking around acting hip, slick, cute, and cool with hoochie and coochie and poochie and Gucci and all that stuff.
You're a slave, goddammit.
And hip, slick, cute, and cool with hoochie and coochie and poochie and Gucci and all that stuff. You're a slave. You can't wait to get out of here and get a good night's sleep so you can go to your elevator plantation tomorrow. You're a slave. You're a slave to your car note. You're a slave to your rent. You're a slave to your lease. You're a slave to your telephone bill. You're a slave to your light bill, your gas bill. You're a slave. And God damn it, this is the slave theater, and all the radical slaves come here. The Nat Turner slaves come here. The Harriet Tubman slaves come here. The Denmark Beatty slaves come here. This is the slave theater. All praise is due to Allah. Yes, he is. But 400 years of slavery, suffering, and death has tampered with the nature of the black man. Help us, sister. You shouldn't let a brother talk to you unless he's a soldier. Unless he's a cold soldier. Unless he's black to the bone. Let some jellyfish up in your face. Some weak, chicken-hearted brother. If it's me, some weak, chicken-hearted brother, go come up in your face. I don't care if the nigga got on a little funny-looking GQ coat like this one. Get him out of your face. You fool around and accidentally have a baby, and the baby be as sorry as the nigga in your face.
Facts.
In 1978, I interviewed a man who worked as an informer for the FBI during the 1960s. His name is Dothard Perry.
This is another informant, ladies and gentlemen.
Also known as Bill Perry, also known as Othello.
This motherfucking cool ass nigga.
The pay was always in cash. Cash, and you would sign a card. It would go like this. A rendezvous or a drop-off point would be picked out either by yourself or the agent. You would meet the agent there. Usually it would be in a vehicle. You get in the vehicle, he would hand you the money. He would tell you first to count the money. He would tell you the amount while you counted it. If the amount was there, he would then bring out a card. On that card would be for the week of such and such. In other words, the week was dated. So-and-so has been paid the amount of. Then you would sign the card, and then the agent would sign the card. The reason for this is that if all of a sudden the IRS became very interested about where you were getting all this extra money from, you could always tell them to go back to the Bureau, and the Bureau would have your cards on file.
I see. Were there such things as bonuses?
Oh, yes.
What were they paid for?
Bonuses were paid for, suppose while you were meeting with, or you were at a meeting with Bobby Seals, Chulai of the Red Army happened to come to the meeting too, which is something which would be a new development. That's bonus time.
In other words, a hot piece of information.
Hot piece, very hot piece.
Did you ever suffer pangs of conscience?
Quite a few times. Quite a few times. I still suffer pains of conscience. I suffer from the fact that a lot of people trusted me, and I misused that trust. I suffer from the fact that a lot of information that I gave out was the undoing of certain groups or certain people. I suffer from the fact that I'm on the run constantly. I have no real life to speak of.
You have no family life, really? You have a wife?
No, I don't have a wife. I do have a child. I can't see her that often. I have to stay away from them because once I come around, the Bureau shows up.
Everybody know you a rat. That's why.
And harassment starts. I have very
they
few
can't get to
close
you. They gonna get to your loved one.
No one to
Goddamn
really
it!
confide in.
Fucking rat ass motherfuckers, man.
It's
infiltrating our peoples,
it's like
man.
being
to this day, you got niggas infiltrating our
on
peoples
the outside
and shit, man.
of a glass jar,
fucking house
and everything
niggas,
is
man.
happening inside the jar, but you're on the
Stand these
outside.
niggas,
You can see
man.
it happening, but you can't participate.
Why have you decided to talk to me?
For the simple reason, I think this information should be getting out, should be put out to the public.
Low level motherfucker,
I think
man.
Not only black people, but everyone should become aware of what your so-called law enforcement agencies do to so-called enforce the law. Because between you, myself, and the audience, I've seen more felons in law enforcement than I have in prison.
Many would say, well, look, you yourself just got through saying that the DLA was involved in criminal activity. What's wrong with wanting to put them in prison? How would you answer them?
I would answer them this way. First off, we have to understand why they did what they did. But I'm not even gonna go off into that psychological hoo-ha. What I'm gonna say is, when you become just as bad as the people that you go after, then there's nothing gained and a whole lot lost.
You also were active in the infiltration of many cultural groups. Before we go into that step by step, how much research and study did the FBI engage in of black culture in the late 60s?
A great amount.
Give me an idea.
From the thing is, I can. They have a file on every type of magazine that blacks read. They have a file on the music, dance, theater.
Wow.
Actors, comedians, you name it, man.
And they would actually study these different...
Oh, yes, definitely.
What would they do with music?
To understand the people, you have to understand the culture. To infiltrate, you have to understand.
Got them young boys out there wearing their pants off their asses. Got them calling themselves niggas and bitches and hoes
black
in the rap industry.
Using the information that they had gathered from the studies of blacks.
We've been studying black folks from
the
beginning
understand the behavior
of time.
pattern of our people?
Oh, yeah,
they still studying y'all. That's how they knew they can get y'all with that experiment. 19.
He could name off some books that I hadn't
even read agents pertaining to black culture. Of chaos selling their own peoples out. Taking experiments. Niggas are known for this shit, man. So I don't trust these niggas, man. And I talk my shit, and I'm going to continue on talking my shit.
Portion of cultural events.
Straight rap.
The understanding, like when... Okay, you have an organization like Leroy Jones Black House. You remember that? Okay, Leroy Jones's
Leroy Jones Black House. This nigga was telling on everything.
Tribalism. That's where I first heard the word Kintu, Mantu, Hantu, Hentu. These words of the African continuum. I learned that from an agent. He ran it down to me. They make in-depth studies of the personalities of the people they're dealing with too. Culturally, it always helps when it's the thing of you can take their culture and use it against them.
Wow.
How large would you say an extensive collection on our culture would you say the FBI has? Would you rate it as large as a particular library, like the Schomburg Library in Harlem? Or
I would rate it better. And the fact is that they go into details that we probably would overlook. Will Heaton used to meet me in different places. Will Heaton, that was one of my supervising agents. There is a certain bar in the Los Angeles area where people into black cultural things met. And Will Heaton used to meet me there. And he would go into very long and tiring conversations with some very articulate brothers about culture, African culture, and Afro-American culture.
Tell me about some of the cultural organizations that you infiltrated and what you did.
PASLA, Mafunde, Watts Writers Workshop, which they had.
The Watts Writers Workshop?
Yes. Watts Writers Workshop.
This nigga was telling on everything, y'all.
Established black writers workshop.
That place was burned down.
Yeah. The Bureau had it burned down.
How do you know that?
I know because I participated. I did the arson.
Wow.
You burned down the Watts Writers?
Yes.
Wow.
Why did they want it to go?
At the time, funding had been cut to the workshop, had been cut out, but it looked like there was a possibility of a grant being given back to the workshop. And if there was no theater, there would be no grant.
How did you do it?
2 cans of kerosene, a Purex bottle, gasoline, and a flare, highway flare.
That sound like BLM and Antifa.
Oh no.
Burning shit the fuck up.
You
infiltrated by the FBI.
It's too obvious.
Within their organization. Facts.
This way you make it look like, maybe somebody in the neighborhood that got kicked out of the theater at one time got mad and came and burned the damn theater up, that kind of thing.
But you were involved in this theater? I mean, did it get to you at all what you were?
Hey man, that got to me a great deal. I love that theater. I built the stage.
You built the stage?
Oh yeah. When I got to the workshop, the stage that had been, the original stage that had been built needed an extension on it. The original part of the stage was in terrible condition. They had no lighting system. I put the lighting system in myself. I put the stage in myself. And that was a stage, man. And that was a theater. It's a nice theater.
Who was the director of that workshop?
Harry Dolan.
Harry Dolan. Some very, very well-known artists supported that workshop, gave money to it.
Some very well-known artists came out of the Watts Writers Workshop. Glenn Tubman, Yaphet Kotto. Sidney Poitier used to come down there and give a class. Sammy Davis Jr. used to come down there all the time. Quincy Jones used to come there and give
Hopefully this motherfucker dead by now, y'all.
8-track studio setup.
Hopefully he dead by now. And the ancestors beating this dog shit out of him.
We had our own sound room there.
Was part of your other activities and responsibilities to study the profiles of celebrities who were supportive of organizations?
Definitely, and especially, like I said, psychological backgrounds, weaknesses and strengths. Did he have a weakness for blondes? Did he have a weakness for money? Did he snort cocaine? Did he smoke marijuana? They even get into, and that's one thing the Bureau loves, is their sexual background. They have files and files on different blacks, not only celebrities, but a lot of others, sexual activity.
What would they do with this information?
Oh, that's used as a weakness.
So they would feed these weaknesses?
Yes.
Did you see that happen?
Oh, yes. Doc Holliday, who is one of the leaders of the BGF, Black Gorilla Family, which is a prison gang in the California state prison system. Upon his release from prison, a certain sister made herself known to him at a nightclub, whereupon he moved in with her, and she picked up names, telephone numbers, information, that kind of thing.
Wow.
That lasted for a good 3.5 months.
Was this an unusual thing, or did this happen often?
No, that happens all the time.
Did you yourself get involved in doing that?
Yes.
Give me an example.
There was a gentleman that was on trial in Los Angeles that belonged to the BLA that had been busted in a southern state for a bank robbery, but was brought with 2 other people to Los Angeles to stand trial for the machine gunning of a police officer in Los Angeles. I was supposed to worm my way into the affections of his sister and whatever it took to get the information that I needed as far as what kind of defense they planned to use as to turn this information over to the federal prosecution.
Did you do it?
I got the information, and thank God I didn't have to go through with the actual thing of sexual activity.
What do you mean, thank God?
The sister was rather unappealing.
How did you justify to the organizations in which you had infiltrated yourself that you were living on an $800 a week stipend or on an $800 a week standard of living when most of them were living hand to mouth?
Well, hey, brother, I'm hustling, I mean, hey, man, so a little this on the side, a little that on the side, I get over, that kind of thing. In other words, ain't nobody's business but mine where I get the money. So, everybody took it for granted that I was possibly doing a little dealing on the side.
You're not only a chump, but you're a traitor to your race. You're not only a chump, but you're a traitor to your race. Not only a chump, but you're a traitor to your race. You're not only a chump, but you're a traitor to your race.